Hello, my name is Heather Torres. I'm the Director of Graduate Studies here at Full Sail University, and I'm joined today with some very special guests to talk about the importance of continuous learning. We have three Full Sail graduates. Some of them have gone through bachelor's degrees, others have gone through master's degrees. Actually, all of them have gone through master's degrees here. And we are going to talk a little bit about just why it's important to always be learning. So our first guest today is Victor Herrera de la Silva, and he's a game design graduate, but he is also an entertainment business master's graduate. And what's the coolest thing about Victor, he's also a Hall of Fame inductee. So he's going to be inducted into our Hall of Fame coming up this year, which is so exciting. We also have Tracy Wu. Tracy works here at Full Sail, but she's a business intelligence master's graduate and also has a background in media communications, which we'll talk about. And we have Maria Del Mar Herrero, who is actually in the studio with me here today. And she is a public relations master's graduate and has a background in media communications. So I want to start off by allowing our guests to share a little bit about their background and their experience and a little bit about what they do now. So Victor, would you like to start us off?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction, Heather, and hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. As Heather said, my name is Victor Herrera, and I'm a graduate from Full Sail University back from 2007 from the game development program. And most recently, in 2019, I graduated with my master's in entertainment business. And now I am the founder and managing partner for ReadyAnt Studios, a digital media agency that creates products and services for the metaverse, marketing and advertising, creative and business services, as well as the CEO for Nuestra Visión, which is a Spanish language speaking network that's broadcasted here in the United States on television, focused on the US Hispanic and the Mexican and Mexican American audiences.
That's so exciting. I'm so proud of you, Victor, to see what you're doing. Tracy, tell us a little bit about your experience.
Well, my background's a little bit different. I actually went to school originally for musical theater back in the early 90s. Don't want to age myself, but I started working at Full Sail 16 years ago, and almost 17 actually. Working at Full Sail, you're surrounded by very creative and driven human beings who are very passionate about education. So while I've been here, I went back to school to get my degree in media communications, and now I am, and then during the pandemic, went back to school to get my degree in business intelligence, which is completely something I never would have expected to have done. Being an actor my entire life, my life is more in front of the camera and creative, but I realized in my position, I was a project manager for our in-house creative team here at Full Sail, and I was really drawn to numbers and budgets and whatnot. And the BI program came out, and I thought, this is really interesting. So I did that during the pandemic because I can't sit still. And it has literally launched my career in a whole different direction. And I'm extremely grateful for it. And yeah, I'm a lot smarter than I thought I was. So thank you for that.
That's wonderful. That's so exciting. And I know that it's led to a lot of opportunities for you, which is really great. So Maria, tell us a little bit about your experience and what you're doing now.
So I started studying communications in Puerto Rico, in 2003, but then I came here, moved, did the Disney College program, which I think is something that everyone wants to do when you don't live in Florida. And then I did that, but then went back and didn't finish because I got pregnant, had my kids and stuff like that. So I was out of there for a while. And then I decided, I learned about Full Sail, started getting into it. So I did my bachelor's degrees in Full Sail for media communications. And then after I graduated from that, which wasn't during the pandemic, so I couldn't even go to my graduation or anything. While I was doing that, I felt like I wanted to do more. So I decided to get my master's in public relations, and I graduated from that last year in October of 2021. And right now I work as a reporter, TV host, and assistant producer for a local TV show here in Orlando called Todo, Poco TV, which is a entertainment talk show that covers events for the Hispanic community. And I also work as a PR manager for a nonprofit Hispanic art and culture.
Very, very cool. That's so exciting. Yeah, it's so interesting to be in the same space with all of you guys because all of you have a common thread of experience of being involved in the television industry. So you probably all have more experience doing this than I do. But it's really great to have you guys here. So we're here to talk a little bit about continuing education and how important it is to always be learning, because whether you go on for a master's degree or a doctorate or just a bachelor's or whatever it is, where you still need to keep acquiring knowledge. Can you tell us a little bit about how you feel specifically your master's degree kind of moved you into a different direction, or how it helped you in your current job? And Tracy, you want to start us off?
Absolutely. It's really interesting. So I work at Platinum Creative. We're the in-house creative agency for Full Sail. And I worked mostly in events, and I ran budgets for our events. And I was asked to predict spends for the Hall of Fame next year, and I didn't know how to do that. And then this was during the pandemic, and I decided, let's go back to school. I actually saw an ad for Full Sail, which is crazy because I work here and my team designs those. But it was an ad for how to predict and forecast spends, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we teach that. So during the pandemic, we were all stuck at home. I decided to go back to school, and I didn't realize how much data there is out in the world, mostly now with technology. And it really changed my life. It changed my focus. And within what I was doing with my department, I started just gathering data and presenting these, findings to my bosses. And it has changed a lot of decisions that we have made. And I think for the better. I've found ways to save money. I've found, ways that are more efficient. And I surprisingly got promoted last year to director, and I was not expecting that at all. But a lot of it had to do with the fact that I was doing things that were not asked of me, but we definitely needed in our team. And I think nowadays any company could use data analytics because there's so much data out there.
That's wonderful. Yeah. And I know that that's such an important degree program, because it really helps you understand what's going on within an organization. That's important. Right. Maria, tell us a little bit about yours, because your degrees kind of complement each other, but how's your PR degree kind of tied into what you're doing now?
So since I've been on TV, I'm a reporter for almost 10 years, I always was pitched to. So always publicists and public relations firms will contact me to either cover events or interview their artists or anything like that. So I wanted to learn what was there in that pitch that would definitely has to be there for that reporter or that person that's reading that pitch to be called to. So I wanted to learn that side. So it really complements each other, because now I know what has to be on that pitch for that reporter to be there. And I look for that when I'm being pitched to. So I feel both of them go hand in hand and have taught me a lot from each other and how they're connected.
That's wonderful. Victor, how about you? Because, it's been interesting to see your journey. I remember meeting you when you started the Entertainment Business Master's program, and you're doing your undergrad degree was in game design, which tell us about how those degrees, how did you end up where you are today? I mean, you have such an amazing job and you're doing such cool things, but tell us a little bit about how those degrees have helped you.
Absolutely. Just so to give you a little bit of a background. So I'm the fourth generation in my family devoted to the entertainment industry. However, my family's focus has historically been to the film and television areas. So since I was very little, I grew that same passion for that industry, but I wanted to learn things that were aligned to the industry, but not necessarily film and television, because I got that home. And I wanted to learn how to make video games. Back then, because I was raised in Mexico City, we didn't really have those degrees available, and that's what brought me to Full Sail, where I was able to right away pick up and learn everything that there was to know about that passion that I was trying to explore. And the funny story of mine and how the masters came to be was that ever since I was going through the degree, Entertainment Business Masters had just launched at the time, and I wanted to explore it. However, as my degree came to an end and I graduated, new opportunities came by. And long story short, which is actually a long story, was 10 years that passed until I was really able to come back and do that master's. And I was really happy I did it at the time, because right in the middle of it, my first kid joined us, and then I just know that after it probably wouldn't have been as easy. But the point was that during those 10 years, I did have the opportunity not only to work with corporate America, but also to start and start some entrepreneurial activities and create some companies and do certain things that, one way or the other, you're going to be faced with these issues, right? And the difference before and after is that you can face those issues and just go by trial and error and not know how to solve the problems and learn how to solve the problems, or you can have a foundation on how to solve those problems. And when I came and when it was time for me to do that master's and compare some of the experiences that I had and know like, oh, I could have probably saved that issue that I came across back then, and which ultimately ended or resulted in money that could have been saved, like Tracy was just pointing out. I thought, maybe had I had the opportunity or had I had the time to do it beforehand, I could have saved those issues that I kind of had to learn the hard way, if you want to see it that way. And ultimately, having that master's under the belt was really helpful, because not only was I able to kind of build and contrast and learn the processes that came behind, the different theories and things that you come across on any given business, because even though, yes, the masters, for example, in my case, entertainment business, it is a different branch or subset from what gaming is at a core. It for me, it worked out because it's kind of seen as a higher level, umbrella of everything that covers business. And all these businesses and entertainment are in a way entangled with one another, and it allows you to really have the opportunity to pivot and be flexible. In a case like mine, where I have the passion for television, yes, but I also have a passion for marketing, advertising, media, creative, and all that. And those foundations are really important to have, because it will give you the opportunity to know what to do, or have a foundation to explore and know what to do and make less mistakes. So that would be my experience, Heather.
That's really impressive. Very impressive. So I know we're live streaming, so I wanted to encourage our audience, like if they have questions towards the end, we're going to be accepting questions from the audience. And so I would love for you guys to be engaged and ask these amazing people some questions at the end. So I guess my question for you guys, seeing as how you went on for a second degree, do you feel that you would be in the position that you're in today if you hadn't done that? Like if you would have just kept your bachelor's, do you feel like your career pivoted in some way after that education? Like, tell us a little bit about that. Maria, do you want to
Sure.
start? Yeah.
So I think, yes, definitely. Even though I still do what I did before, it has led to different opportunities and different connections that have happened because of the Masters of PR. So I've been able to work with different PR firms as a freelance job, even which I knew before as a reporter because I interviewed their artists or people that they represented. But being able to do some PR work for them has definitely been something that I probably would have never done if I wouldn't have had my master's on public relations and learned that side of things, as well as the creating the press releases and stuff like that. So it definitely has given me different opportunities that have come out because of that master's that I did.
That's awesome. Tracy, I know you had a promotion, right? After you got your so yeah, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, it was actually insanely surprising because, again, my personality, if anyone's known me in the past 10 years, I'm crazy bubbly, and I'm an actor, and they just think, oh, she's crazy fun bubbly. My master's gave me a whole different level of confidence that I didn't have before. And kind of like Victor was saying, the world is so, as you get older and things happen in your life, you have to pivot slightly within your career. I've been acting since I was in my early 20s professionally, and I'm still doing it, but I can't do 8 shows a week. So I don't do stage anymore. I do TV on occasion, but I'm blessed to have this job that I loved, but there was no way to move forward unless I did something different and learned something more. And having a background in theater and film, I didn't know a lot about the business side. I learned a lot about it on the job, but getting that master's degree really changed my life. And again, I had created certain reports. I had found certain patterns in our numbers that have changed the way we do certain things in our organization. And I'm super proud of that because no one asked for it, but it's made a huge difference. And again, my promotion was completely random, did not expect it. And they're like, you've helped us a lot. And it's nice to know that, that your work gets rewarded. So yeah, and I'm super proud of it. And also outside of here, like, because of numbers, I sound so nerdy, but numbers, I love them. Like I play the crypto game, and I make my own charts and see where it's going and see how it's flying. And I think I'm better at like investing now personally because of what I've learned. And I wouldn't have been able to get this degree 10 years ago. I don't think I was ready for it mentally and emotionally. And doing it now at this phase of my career was such a blessing, and I'm so grateful. And it just came at the right time, and it's definitely propelled me to different levels. So
yeah. Well, I just from on a personal note, I've seen so much growth in you as well.
thank you.
I've had the honor of managing both the business intelligence and the entertainment business programs before I was promoted into my position, and so I know those programs really well, and I know what you're learning or what you learned, and I feel like that it's a really powerful skill set, and so Tracy, I don't know if our audience knows this, but Tracy is like kind of like the face of Full Sail. Like she has been like presenter at BTS all these years. She introduces people on the red carpet. She's our the voice on the phone, for her recordings. Like she's that person. And so to see you pivot in this direction has been really exciting. Yeah. So I'm really happy for you. She still does those things, but she does even more now.
Yeah. And let me just add to that. Being in front of the camera at Full Sail is awesome. And that's where my comfort zone is. But a lot of times, mostly when I first started 17 years ago, I would interview these incredibly intelligent, successful people, and they would talk back to me. And I honestly was like, I don't know what they're saying to me. And now, again, my master's degree has given me a confidence that I didn't have before. And I'm able to have those conversations now instead of just being the host with a microphone looking for the soundbite. Now I actually can converse with them and understand what they're talking about and be able to carry that conversation further. So that's a really nice thing to do as well.
That's wonderful. That's awesome. How about you, Victor? I mean, you talked a little bit about it earlier, you shared, but like specifically your degree, do you think that you would be like where you are right now doing what you're doing today if you hadn't continued on?
So I think it's really hard to say, Heather, because I think, as I was expressing before, there are routes that you can take to go certain places. And putting aside the fact, because we live in a reality today where we see it, the needs of having certain credentials and titles, and these are requirements that can definitely make a difference into how you grow or are placed career-wise. I think there's a much more important aspect to it that goes with it, and that I think is what has most definitely reflected in my personal life, which is the platform and the backbone that I received, by taking the step to go back and doing my master's. This goes directly related with the networking opportunities that I received, the people that I've met. I mean, you included, the relationship that we have built is a relationship that, brings so much opportunity, not only for, the fellow students that I met while we were doing it, but then also the platform that exists with Full Sail through career development has played such an important part, not only on different events or opportunities that happen, but there's an actual effort that happens even on a monthly basis where we can come in and meet people that we would have not otherwise never met. And I think that's one of the most crucial factors to play, because people in many ways is what moves things and what places, and opportunities come through people. So whoever you meet and whoever it's a very real, that very much so define how your life shapes and how your life gets placed. So through those little interactions and sparks of energy that you get when you meet someone and you have the opportunity to interact and engage, and especially on an institution such as Full Sail, where you get to dive right in with the whole world of entertainment, you have always an access, and you become an open door for a gateway where you will always have access to meet people that are not only related to the things that you love and are passionate about, but also through other, of the countless disciplines that you can do through entertainment. So I think, like as I was expressing, education aside, which is always important to kind of nurture yourself and grow and learn, the processes and formulas and everything. I think that the social aspect of it and networking aspect of it and that platform to have to continue growing your career is perhaps one of the most crucial components, at least for me.
You make such an interesting point, and it's so powerful. I mean, we preach to our students every day the importance of networking.
Oh, yes.
You know, like one relationship could change like your whole life, right? And so I love that you added that, Victor, because so much of what we do here is not just education, it's also connecting with people. And I feel one of the things that sets Full Sail apart from other schools is that we're like a family, you know? It's like we treat our students like they're part of our family. The faculty, like I feel like the people I've worked with for the last 14 years are part of my family, you know? It's all about those relationships. And so without taking that next step, you know, or connecting in a meaningful way to your personal growth, it's very difficult to make new relationships and to join forces with new people, right? So I love that you shared that. Victor, I was reviewing your LinkedIn profile and I noticed that you have a bunch of certifications too. You know, so can you talk a little bit about like how what that means to you and like why you went on for those certifications, you know, why it's important to you to look for other things, not just through traditional education like we have here, but like, you know, why is it important to pursue those things as well?
I think most importantly on a professional level, it's a matter of trying to stay up to date with things. And I mean, our industry is just constantly evolving, particularly technology. You know, entertainment makes such use of technology for different things, and you have to stay up to date. So the more that you can continue growing and improving yourself, I think that's always very useful, particularly for certain reasons, like Tracy was pointing out. You know, you want to make sure that you're in the game, that you know what you're talking about, and that you can understand what perhaps a client is sharing with you about, or a work acquaintance is sharing about. So I think that never really ends. I think that, you know, because there's always new things. Right now we have the latest trend with the whole ChatGPT situation, and that has a whole subset of things that have to be learned. And just like that, you know, they're becoming and they're disrupting, and they're very much so becoming a part of not only entertainment industry, but many other industries that are going to be shaped by it. But, you know, for example, in my case, I'm done with school. I'm not going to really learn that back on my degree. So you have to continue trying to improve yourself so that you can apply it and just continue growing and nurturing yourself.
That's awesome. So I'm going to open this up to all three of you, and whoever wants to comment on this, like this is just an open question. Okay. Are any of you guys a part of any like networking organizations? Are there any, you know, places outside of like your job and you're, you know, coming to work every day? Is there anything else that you guys, any other types of ways you would recommend that people connect, you know, either through a networking organization, a club, a group, anything along those lines?
So, okay, I'll start.
Okay.
I usually try to connect with people that are in the same industry as me, specifically like if there are the other reporters and stuff like that. But here and also in different states, there's specifically for PR, there's a organization that's for public relations, people that publicists and stuff like that, and they do different events and they do networking. So that is definitely an organization that you can sign up for, and you pay a annual fee, and then they do different events and activities to help you, as well as different courses and certifications that they give you throughout the time that you're with them. And there's also one for, since I'm a reporter, there's also one for reporters. So, but other than that, if there's something like free that you don't have the money to do it, I would always recommend to look for events locally where you're at, because there's always networking events that are sometimes complimentary. They just do like a tasting, and they'll have different activities for people, and then you get to make connections there. And it's maybe sometimes people from other industries, but there's a lot of things that you can, like Victor was saying, like you can, it doesn't matter what industry they are, as long as you're making a connection, there's at one point that you might meet together, and then you can do something with that person, and you don't know if that person knows someone that at the end will benefit you, and they'll be like, oh, hey, you know what? I think I have someone that I can connect you with, and you guys will be great together, stuff like that. So definitely I would recommend joining organizations pertaining what you do around your area, as well as looking for networking events that are done weekly in most areas.
That's really great advice. How about you, Tracy or Victor? Any comments on that?
You want to go ahead?
I am not part of any organizations, and I blame it slightly on the fact that I work way too much. Aside from this job, I am acting. So I'm auditioning 3-4 times a week. And then I'm also a sports host at ESPN, Wide World of Sports. But I do believe in the networking component. I'm extremely extroverted, so my network is very extensive. But what's interesting, actually, what Victor was talking about earlier with networking within the school and your peers, I think a big difference between networking in your undergrad and your master's program is when you come back for your master's, at least for the most part, most people are professionals already and working in the industry. Whereas in your bachelor's, you haven't gotten that first job yet or whatnot. So yes, it's great to have that network, but it's almost easier when you're going for your master's because everyone's working. So then those connections you're making are a lot deeper. And as much as I don't want to work in analytics for the rest of my life, like I like it as part of my job. I don't want to be a full-time analyst. I've kept in contact with my cohorts, my instructors, and it's definitely, I've made connections with people just at the bar hanging out, and they're like, oh, you know how to do this? Do you want to come work for my company? And I've actually had a couple job offers. I just won't take them because I can't do that 40 hours a week. But the opportunity is there.
Yeah, that's great.
How about all of you who can do it 40 hours a week, but I can't. So
yes.
Yeah. Well, it's difficult, right? When you're working full time, find time for those extra things, and I think that it was easier for me to be part of those networking organizations before I had a family and kids and I was back in school and all those other things. So it's like you have to have work-life balance and all that stuff too. But any comments for you, Victor, that you want to share about that?
Sure. Yeah, I have been a member of the International Academy of Television Arts and Sciences on the past, and it was very important, obviously, as part of being in the industry, because not only does it give you the opportunity to meet other professionals that are within your industry, it gives you other types of opportunities as well. Now, with that in mind, I think you don't necessarily have to be a part of an association or have a membership, but it is important that you attend trade events for things that you are involved with, because the industry, whatever you decide to focus on or explore, you're going to find that there are different events that cater to different segments, and the industries, when you go to the core of each one, it's not really big, particularly on entertainment. You have little niches that it's important that you can be a part of a network and learn who's a part of it, because that's also a big part of knowing what's trending, knowing what's new, and there's big, massive conferences for like CES. That's a huge one for technology, for example. But there's other little ones that happen as well, and they can be daunting many times, particularly if you're going by yourself or if you're not going as part of a company. It can be daunting to go, but they're always really welcoming. And not only do you get a chance to network with other companies, they have actual events that happen that are social events where you have a chance to come and meet and network, and it is important to craft those. Tracy was bringing up something that is really, really interesting. And there's two ways of going through the networking. The platform that we were talking about, that accessibility to a group of people when you're studying and you go back to school and you're seeing that's, a very, how can I say, flexible and easy way of networking with someone, because you get to see the same amount of people for the duration of your program, and then you build, like professional relationships that grow. And these other types of events, it becomes a little bit harder to network, because usually everyone that goes, always have something in mind professionally of what to achieve or what to accomplish or what can you bring to the table. And it becomes a whole different strategy as to how to network in those events, where you're going to find that to build those professional relationships is going to take much more effort to do. But then also, they can become really fruitful and meaningful as you continue to deploy them. It's just not as easy as what you can achieve when you have met someone through a long time, when there's no particular professional interests involved. But all in all, I do think that it is important to stay connected, to stay active, and then continue building those relationships, always with the mindset of what can I do for you, rather than placing my interests first. I think that that's something that's very magical, so that the things can work, because relationships take years to develop. They don't happen overnight. And obviously, the older you grow, we're all in busy lives. Life takes over in so many different ways, and it becomes harder to evolve those relationships. That's why, as much as we can, it is so important to touch base, like try to be there for them, not with what you want, but leave that aside. Try to always serve first, and then yours, what you're trying to do will eventually come, as Maya was saying, through the different energy spurts that happen with people, where one day you are talking with someone and they're like, oh yeah, I know this person and I'm so well connected with them, or vice versa. And that's where all the magic happens, I think.
Oh, I love it. That's where the magic happens. Absolutely.
Magic happens.
Yeah. Well, we have
Agreed.
several questions that have come in from our different social media channels. So I'm actually going to jump into those, because I want to make sure that we have time to address their questions and not just mine. So the first one here is, what was the most challenging thing about transitioning from being in a classroom into the workforce? And so anybody want to volunteer to go first? Maria, with that laugh.
So when I did Full Sail, I did the online program. So I wasn't really coming to class. I was already working.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say it's just, even though I wasn't coming, I also have a family. I am married. I have 4 kids. So definitely, even though I had to not come to here, I still had to balance it. So I think it's very important to organize ourselves. You have to organize what you want to do. And then transitioning from here to working, I feel like it's just feeling that you can do it. I feel like if you have confidence on what you can do, then you're able to take the world. No one is going to believe in you more than yourself. So I feel like once you're able to balance your personal life and your school life, you're able to balance also your personal life and your work life, and then you're able to do anything you propose yourself to. Like the sky's the limit. So as long as you think you believe in yourself, you're able to do it.
That's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Tracy, Victor, any comments on that one?
That's a tough one, because just like Maria, I mean, I was in school. I mean, I'd already been working for a long time once I went back to school, but just being in school, I mean, I guess I can transition this question a little bit. It is the same. It's the same concept. The balance is very, very difficult. So although I don't have a family or children, I was working 3 jobs and getting my master's, which was literally the hardest thing I've ever had to do mentally. And it's just a matter of prioritizing. You prioritize what's important. And I didn't hang out with my friends for a year as much. I didn't vacation as much. I didn't do as much. I studied, because I wasn't going to invest that time and not get what I wanted out of it. I wanted to walk out of there knowing what I know now. And, I wish I knew more, but yeah. So it's prioritizing. And I think that's hard when your only job is school. And then suddenly it's like, now what, but balance, that's it.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I think a lot of times our students, they don't know what's on, especially when they're going through a bachelor's program, they don't know what's on the other side. Right. And I remember that when I went through my bachelor's program, I didn't really understand marketing. And I went for a marketing degree, and I didn't understand what that really meant until I was in working in the, in marketing. And then I was like, oh, okay. I really understand, because I see how it's applied. I think one of the great things about Full Sail is that we're very hands-on, and we offer a lot of very project-based assignments. So it might be an easier transition for some of our students than a traditional, school. But my master's degree, I knew so much more. I got so much more out of it, because I knew about how the world worked. I knew how, I knew what it was like to work in business. And then it was I was excited about learning, because I knew how it applied to my job. You know what I mean? So I think those students that haven't, finished a degree yet might have some feel a little bit anxiety about that, but it all comes together, right? Through experience, it comes together, and that's where it helps to have the confidence, right?
Definitely.
So one of my favorite questions that's up here from our audience is, have any of you guys ever experienced imposter syndrome? And if so, how did you overcome it? Anybody want to comment on that?
Still have not overcome it. How's that?
Exactly. I feel like that's something that we still struggle with, and specifically nowadays with social media, how out there it is. You're looking at all these things online. You're looking at all these people. You compare yourself to all these people. So it comes back to what I said before. You have to believe in yourself and know that you're doing everything you want to keep going and what you want in life. You cannot let what other people are doing and what you're seeing in social media. I think that's the biggest thing. What you see in social media stops you from what you can do, because I would say 100%, but let's say 90% of the things that we see in social media are not 100% of what that person is living. They're not showing their bad days. They're not showing when they're struggling. So I feel everyone goes through imposter syndrome. I feel we just need to trust our process and be able to move on and always know that you can do it. Like, as long as you are able and you have confidence in yourself, you can do anything you propose yourself to do. Everything is possible. It's like I heard the other day, everything in the world is possible as long as we want to work for it. So it doesn't matter. No, you cannot do it. You can always do it as long as you want to work hard and are able to do it. That's it.
Right. Now, when I actually want to really touch on this, because when growing up, I failed math, I think 3 times in high school. And then they finally passed me in algebra 2 with like a D, because they were just like, we're sick of having you in this class. And I was terrible. I was terrible at school, in high school. But as you grow up, I think your focus changes. At least mine did. And my priorities changed. But I grew up with a family I'm the youngest of 5 kids, all extremely successful business professionals. And I was the actor who's just auditioning and, doing theater and blah, 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 and not making money. And till this day, it still shocks me that I have a pretty decent job and I work with numbers all day. And as much as I go through imposter syndrome every day, I just keep going, because I'm surprised every day that I can do it, but I can do it. Does it shock me still? Absolutely, it shocks me. But that goes back to like constantly wanting to learn. I'm constantly putting myself out there. I'm constantly learning, because I have that fear that, is this really happening to me? So I'm just going to keep myself up there so that no one can tell me that I'm a faker, because I'm not. But I need to convince myself of that. So,
yeah.
Any comments, Victor? Have you ever felt that way? Some people don't. Yeah. Well, you're about to get inducted into the Hall of Fame, so
I was just sharing with you guys earlier. I still can't believe it. Especially we're in an environment where it's so many successful and talented people, and I think a lot of it too is what Mari is saying, is that we live a reality that doesn't really reflect anymore what people actually are going through, and the roads to success, which are incredibly complicated, and getting to the top doesn't always mean you get to stay there, right? Many times, people have to go back down, and it's a whole process. But I think it was so well said. I think that having confidence and trusting oneself is such an important thing to just keep moving forward. And most importantly, I think that because there's different stages in life for different things that happen, and I think the most important thing in this regard is to just not wait too long to start putting yourself out there and getting your toes wet, and trying to explore those areas that perhaps you're too afraid or feel unprepared to start exploring, professionally speaking, so that you can start really getting acquainted and putting yourself out there, because there's going to be a lot of failures, and once you're out there, or you're even at a graduate level trying to pursue your degree while at the same time that you're working, and you'll hear this from a lot of people, students that have spoken with me, and alumni, of how challenging it is out there. With everything and all the tools you have, it's still going to be challenging, and you're still going to face a lot of challenges and trouble that you're going to have to figure out. So the best way to go through those is to keep going. And when you fail, take the loss and try again. If it didn't work, try it a different way, because the more time passes, it gets more complicated. It never really quite gets easier. So when you look back, you really go back and think, kind of like when you look back at a 10, 20-year-old picture and you thought you looked big at the time, but then you look back and you actually look really good. That's my case. So I look back at that and I'm like, wow, I was not bad then. So same thing. You think that you're going through some complicated issues, but it always kind of keeps moving forward because there's more variables. Then things happen. Then you get married or have a kid, or you have to, move to a new place. And those things make it harder to accomplish the things you want to do. So the more you can start exploring earlier what you want to do, you start improving the odds that you can achieve the things that you set your sights to, because life doesn't stop and people don't stop. So you have to try and always stay up the course and keep trying until you do, and just have confidence in yourself for sure.
Awesome. We have a really great question from our audience. Should you expect to pivot away from a degree program slightly in order to achieve your greatest potential? So in other words, like if you went through a degree, you got your degree, do you feel like it's important for you to seek out different opportunities or seek out a different way of existing in order to be successful? Or do you think just having that degree is enough? I think that's just like a personal question from, your take. I know I'm working on my third business degree right now, so I certainly have not pivoted away from it, but I also work in education, which is kind of interesting, right? So I have like 3 degrees of business and I work in education. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that question?
Oh, I would love to tackle this. Personally, I think the world, like you're saying, things change, life changes. You could move, you could have kids, you could have a tragedy, whatever. And I think it's being able to pivot to what your changes are, and not necessarily outside of your degree program, but suddenly, acting is my one true love. And then I started working at Full Sail as an on-camera person. And while I was here, I took advantage of working here and started sitting in on classes and learning. And I fell in love with other things. So do I still love this one thing I originally went to school for? Absolutely. But then I also realized, wow, there are other things here that I enjoy very, very much and I'm good at. So let's try that route. So I don't think it's about you have to pivot. I think pivot when the opportunity is in front of you and you realize that it is good for you. But don't just pivot to pivot. If you see a great opportunity, take it. And I think that's one thing that we don't do as often is there'll be doors opening in front of us and we don't realize that there are those doors. And you're like, but if you really paid attention, you're like, hey, wait a second. I am great at this. Maybe I should try that route. And then maybe you'll fall in love with that too. And whatever your degree program, it's whatever you study, you're studying. And that gives you discipline and focus and teaches you life and balance and and that those are the things that I think make you successful, not necessarily what you studied, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's great advice. To add to Tracy's thoughts, I think just as I was sharing earlier about how life kind of starts getting more and more complex as time passes, I think the same applies with perhaps the level of risk that one can take at any given point to change drastically. It's kind of like a mountain that starts building, and the higher you go, it's harder to kind of change courses. So my opinion on the matter is that you should try to always explore the things that you're passionate about. Don't let yourself, not, but always keep in mind, like Tracy was saying, don't just, do a mindless shift to something that you haven't quite studied. I think one of the biggest things you should do, even more so now in the era of information we live, is try to get and soak in as much information as you can, which is there and it's available, before you make decisions, right? That's going to save you time, and time becomes so important as you go. So explore your passions. Don't settle for things if it's happened, because I've also met people that, I didn't study the right thing, and they completely changed. Just one of my best friends, he switched from a career that was so deep entrenched in corporate sales, and now he's a software developer. And I'm like, wow, that's incredible. And he did it, and he did it. He's married and he has a life, and he did it. And I'm so proud of him. So those things can definitely happen. He's exploring. He's so happy now. But try to not waste your time. Like, make the best use of your time by getting informed, by making sure that you're taking the right steps and using all the tools that you have available so that you can improve your outcomes. So I just wanted to add that, because I thought what Tracy said is so accurate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Any other comments, Maria? We're good on that question?
No, yeah, I agree. I agree completely with both of them. So we can just hang on that.
That's awesome. Well, this next question actually ties in a little bit to what you said, Victor. And one of our people in the audience, they want to know if you still make time to work on personal or passion projects. And I think that ties in perfectly to what you were saying, Victor. It's like, it's all about like pursuing your passion. I mean, how about you guys? Do you have anything that you like to do? You know, I know Tracy, I know you have a whole nother life outside of Full Sail with like performing and acting and doing all that kind of stuff. But like, what is it that you guys are passionate about? What are you guys passionate about? And Maria, you want to start?
So, well, I'm passionate. I really love what I do. So I love being able to host a TV show, interview people, and meeting people. I love that. I feel like I'm a very extrovert person, so it helps to do that. But and I'm very passionate about that. But on the side, I also love to do a lot of other things. So yes, feel you always have to make time for your passion and for things, personal projects that you have. So I love to plan events and I love making that work for me. So I do events. I plan networking events. So I work for an advertising agency that also plans events of networking and also does local markets for small businesses. So, and that is something that I really enjoy. And it also connects with what I already do, which I'm already passionate about. So I feel like you always have to make room for your special projects because those are the ones that are your babies and you're like building them. And so it's very important to have that, even though if you're working on your passion and you enjoy what you do, always have those little things that are yours.
That's great. I know, Victor, you kind of are venturing now into the metaverse, right? And I feel like that's probably purely based on something that you're interested in, right? And that you're passionate about. I mean, I know you've been kind of worked as an executive in television for a while now. So like, can you kind of comment on that a little bit? Like, how did you end up in that space? And
Surely, yes, absolutely. No, it all stems off to that passion I have, which I was mentioning earlier, surrounds entertainment as a whole, but also I have such a passion and love for technology. I always think, just like we're sharing, if there's things you love, you have to do them, right? You have to keep pursuing your passions. Now, if you can learn how to make money doing the things you love, then score, right? So there is a whole area that I'm passionate about, which surrounds not only the technology side, but everything that has to do with gaming and virtual reality, extended reality, and those areas. And I'm trying to grow and build and explore those because those are part of my passions. At the end of the road, yes, I think career-wise it's important, the things that you can accomplish and create, but what is it good for if you're not doing the things that, you truly love? And then there's also going to be other things as well that perhaps, you don't want to make a business out of, and that's perfectly fine too, because then those, help you also relax and unwind from like long days of hard work. But ultimately, yes, to your question, that is an area that I'm exploring and I'm expanding and I'm growing because I think it has a lot of potential. Everything that's happening surrounding those areas and working on those and building on those is part of also what I'm trying to do to branch off to the things that I'm passionate about.
That's great. How about you, Tracy? Any comments on this question? We can go on to the next.
Well, I'll do it quick. I'm very lucky because my biggest passion is acting and I still get to do it. And lucky enough, I get paid to do it. So woohoo. We can move on now.
Awesome. So how important do you guys feel soft skills are like when transitioning into the workplace? Because I think a lot of times people's success, yes, you can find success through like learning and education and all that stuff. But let's talk a little bit about the soft skills that maybe aren't so easy to learn. And do you guys have any tips for our audience on how they can improve their soft skills so that they're ready and successful in the workplace?
I can start with that one. I think it's so incredibly important. So incredibly important. I think that the soft skill side of what makes us, I think it's almost as important as the technical side, because the soft skills are what are going to help you not only grow your self-platform, but to navigate a particular professional endeavor or workplace and grow ahead. This becomes really, really important, not only because not having it can definitely shut the doors on the things that you could potentially accomplish if you had them, but more so because it really is a door opener. And I know that kind of contradicts itself, but the point here is that it is important to build, it is important to craft, and the way to do it, I think the most easiest and it's to put yourself out there in the situations that would allow you to explore. And this, I think, the easiest, as daunting as it may be for some, is to do those networking events, try to explore, going, meeting someone, crafting a professional relationship. How you're gonna meet, because we're infinite variables. You're not two people are the same. You're gonna have different responses. You're gonna learn how to deal with those responses, how to kind of shape yourself through those, so that you can start kind of having a wider margin as to how to conduct yourself. And I think that's a really good way. Just like with networking, it takes, I think, years of practice, which is why I think there should also not be a clear cut, like, I'm done studying, now let's practice my soft skills. No, like, start today, start with your family, your friends, like, purposely trying to, engage and trying to see how to conduct yourself, so that things, become second nature. You're not awkward. You're not, like, all that takes time to build. But it is really, really important to have.
That's awesome. Yeah, great advice. Great advice. Do you guys want to comment? Or are you good for the next question?
Oh, we're good.
You're good? Okay,
I'm
awesome.
good. I agree.
I agree.
Yes, what Victor said. All right, so we have another question from the audience. How have you guys overcome any mistakes or hardships throughout your career? Have there ever been like a situation that was really tough to overcome, that like kind of stood in the way, and then how did you overcome that? Or has everything just been perfect your whole career?
Oh, no,
and you're
never.
Good?
Gosh, no.
I feel that you have to always be able to fall and get up. Like, it's definitely, we're always going to make mistakes. There's always going to be an obstacle that we're going to face. And I feel the most direct advice that I can give you is you have to get up, raise your head, and face it again. There's always different ways to do it. If you did it way A, try way B. If you did it sitting down, try it standing up. So there's always going to be things that we're going to face that are going to be, you're going to make mistakes, because definitely we're humans. So it's going to happen. But there is always the way we look at it. It's a mistake that we learn from. How can we make it better? How can we not have it happen again? Can we do it this other way so it works? It's just really, I think, embracing every situation that we face and getting up and moving forward.
Yep, that's great.
Agreed.
So overcoming obstacles. So go ahead, Tracy.
I'd love to get in more with that, because I mean, I 100% agree with that on a personal level. But I've worked a lot of events and television. I've also been behind the camera on TV, and I'm sure you guys know this, but nothing ever goes as planned. 100%, it never does. And I actually love when things go wrong, because it's like, okay, now I'm going to fix it. And I think the more experience you get, the more you realize that every little problem is actually just a way to solve it creatively. And then when you do solve it creatively, when you think everything just went, bonkers, and you're just like, we totally fixed that. And I love those moments, because you're like, I have the knowledge now and the confidence to fix whatever that problem is. And obviously not huge problems, but I'm talking, just day-to-day little problems. I love problem solving. And it's really great, I think, for my confidence to be like, okay, there's a problem. Got it. Let's go.
I love that. Great advice. So I have one final question that I'm going to ask each of you. Well, you guys all get the same question, but we'll go around. I'll have Victor start. But what advice do you have for students who are about to graduate now? Like, go out in the industry, do their thing for the first time. Do you have any advice for them?
My advice for them would be to, as I was mentioning earlier, don't wait until you're done to kind of like make a clear separation between I'm done and I'm going to start now. Start today. There's so many ways to start without having to go all crazy about it too, because you're probably very busy with final projects, with things of the sort. But definitely do start exploring, the different paths that you want to take. Start researching places you may want to work at, or start researching an industry you may want to break in and start your own business. But don't wait, because just like Tracy was saying, things can go always any different ways. Things don't really ever happen the way that we expect them to. So the earlier you can start, the better that you can give yourself the opportunity to reach those goals. And back to what was shared earlier as well, don't let yourself give up. Be relentless and learn how to take no, and learn that there's going to be 99 no's, but you only need one yes. You only need one yes to succeed and change your life. So go for those 99s, learn the stories of, the great masters and the great successful companies, how they started and how many times they fell and how many times they were about to be gone and they persisted and they had, that perseverance, that resilience, which is so important to have, and just keep moving forward. So that would be my advice to people that are about to graduate. The time you have ahead is precious. Don't waste it, and you'll see the difference that you can make.
That's wonderful. Maria, how about you? Any advice?
Yes, so I go hand in hand with what Victor says. We have to definitely believe in yourself. As long as you put your mind to it, you're able to do it. Definitely don't wait. Anything that you can do today, start today. If you have an idea today, get it be known. If you can be starting networking today, start networking. Look at all your classmates that are around you. Those are just your first networking connections. Start with them, because you don't know where they're going to be tomorrow. So creating those connections is the biggest thing I believe in. And believe in yourself. There's always going to be new opportunities. You're going to get, like Victor said, 100 no's, and there's going to be that one yes. And that yes is going to be the one that you needed, and it's going to come in the moment that you need it. So just for it, be patient, be resilient, and believe in yourself.
Great advice. Anything, Tracy?
Yeah. No, I agree with all that. The one thing I will add to that is be positive about whatever situation you're in at the moment. Because mostly if you're just finishing your bachelor's and you're not in a job that's in your industry yet, and let's say you're waiting tables or whatever, be grateful for that moment, because you never know what's going to come of it. You might suddenly serve, if you're an audio engineer and suddenly you serve some guy who's, engineer for whoever, Beyonce, you never know. And so if you're positive and you exude that positivity, people are going to feel that. So it's part of networking too. If you have a good demeanor and you're, happy and whatnot, people are going to be attracted to you. And that's what people relate to. And to close it off, years ago, I interviewed Hall of Famer Leslie Brathwaite, and he said in this interview, which has stuck with me, he said, the people who don't make it only didn't make it because they quit. So everyone eventually makes it. You may not make it to Bill Gates level, but you're going to make it. You just can't quit. So keep going at it.
That's really, really great advice to end on. So thank you. I got to thank all three of you guys for being here. Tracy, Victor, Maria, you guys are wonderful. You gave great advice. And I want to thank our audience for the wonderful questions. So we appreciate you guys being here. And thank you for tuning in for our very first episode of Taking Flight. So this is really exciting, and we'll be doing more in the future. I hope everybody has a great day.